my name is Meera Mahadevan, and I'm an assistant professor at the Department of Economics here at UCI. Before this, I completed my Ph.D. in economics from the University of Michigan, and I did a couple of postdocs before ending up here. My first postdoc was at UC Santa Barbara with their environmental lab, and it was a wonderful experience, followed by a postdoc here at the Department of Economics. It's been really great to have that segue into being an assistant professor here, because I've sort of gotten to know some of the students and some of my colleagues before having to start. My research, I would sort of think of it as very broadly related to environment and energy in developing countries. But if I had to further kind of categorize it, one category would be the political economy of energy and environmental topics in developing countries. So to give you an example, I look at how politicians, especially in poorer countries where electricity and water are state provided, they might often exploit some of these systems in order to redirect resources maybe to their constituents, maybe to their voters. And this can have quite serious distributive consequences, especially in countries where we're speaking about several people living in poverty, several people not having access to some of these services. So any kind of favoritism or patronage tends to have quite large consequences. As a part of this research, I also look at questions related to representation in political office. So for example, some of my work finds that when women are elected to political office, we find better environmental outcomes as a result of that. And there's often quite a simple and intuitive explanation for this. It's often the case, or at least past research has shown us that climate change and that worsening pollution might have quite negative consequences, especially for women and especially for children. And so they might have quite a larger stake in trying to design policy that addresses this. So when you have women be part of policy that might disproportionately affect them, it makes sense that we would see some of these positive results. Some of my other research is also related to energy and environment, but has a different flavor to it. It pertains more to infrastructure and technology and how that might shape the future of environmental policy, the future of energy policy. So to give you an example, some of my current research tries to examine the role of rooftop solar, particularly in rural India, where several households might not even have access to regular grid electricity, or if they do, they might face several blackouts. So what could be the role of some of these newer technologies like rooftop solar? Could these be a long-term solution? Could these only be a stopgap till we figure out how to extend the grid and provide reliable electricity to these inhabitants? So these are some of the questions that I examine. I decided to come to UCI now a couple of years ago, right after I finished my PhD. I accepted an offer at the Department of Economics. I think it's a really exciting time to be at the department. Not only does it have faculty with a very wide range of interests, it's also really exciting because there's a whole lot of young and junior faculty working on several different topics, and it's a really great group, not just as colleagues for me, but also potentially as advisors and potentially as researchers who go on to do really cool stuff in the future. What would I like my students and colleagues to know about me? In addition to my research, something that's quite important to me is to try to do whatever I can to help students coming from quite varied and diverse backgrounds. So it might mean it might pertain to international students, it might pertain to first-generation students, to female students, which can be quite relevant when speaking about economics, which has often not done as great a job as we might like in the past few decades in sort of keeping things inclusive. And so I always welcome students to come and speak to me if they're interested in pursuing economics, and if there's something that I can do to sort of ease their transition into the discipline, or even if it's just something that you want to explore before moving on to a longer journey.